Hello and welcome to The Witch Source. I have the amazing opportunity here to interview Alexian, who is not only a pagan musician, but also a high priest. And so I am just thrilled to be here with you. Thank you for joining me on The Witch
Thank
Source.
you. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to meet you.
Yes, you as well. You as well. I'm already just blown away at the little bit that we've had to talk backstage here. So let's start at the beginning, and maybe let's approach it this way. So, what came first, the magic or the music?
Oh, definitely the music.
Okay.
Definitely the music. So, um, I've told this story so many times, so I'm going to tell it rapidly.
Okay.
Um, a long time ago, in the before time, before the internet, um, when Alexian was but a wee babe on the farm in the Ozarks in southern Missouri, my aunt came to my mother and said, "You need to take those pagan children to church." And
Oh,
so at I don't know, 7, no, 4. I was 4. I was 4 years old. I was taken to church. And there's whole stories about that I won't go into, funny stories. But long story short, that day there was a guest that came to the church, and he was a very important man, and everybody was like, "Oh, we're so lucky to have him," and whatever. And he went up onto the dais, the stage, and he sat at this desk,
that's new.
and then he went like this, and he started playing the piano. I had never seen one. I was 4 years old, a farm boy, right? And
Yeah.
my brain went, and that was it. I had to have a piano. So I started asking for piano at age 4, age 5, age 6, age 7, age 8. My parents finally, I drilled them. I was like Sheldon, right? Just pester, 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 pester. Finally, 4 years later, at the age of 8, I broke them down, and they bought me a piano, and I started taking piano lessons, and that's when it all started, way
Nice.
back then. And then, it progressed. I studied classical piano for 10 years.
Oh,
I
wow.
got into choir and band as a first year trumpet player, brass. Um, and then, ended up doing all the things you do in high school with plays and choir and competing and winning medals and band and winning things. And then I applied to Berklee College of Music, and I went to college at in Boston, Massachusetts, and I ended up triple majoring in music education, songwriting, composition, and music synthesis, which is computers and synthesizers and home recording studio technology. So I actually triple majored. So it took me 6 years to graduate instead of 4. I should have a master's, but I only have a bachelor's. I did check into going back to Berklee, and they said I only had to come back for 1 year, and I'd have my master's degree. So I might do that at some point. But right now I'm too busy.
Right.
So that's
Right.
my musical story in a nutshell.
So, when did you so what happened to now? Like, did you where did you fall in love with magic and all of this? Was that before or after college, or
It
when?
was during college, actually.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear, like, being so close to Salem,
Yeah.
that piqued your
Salem
interest.
really didn't have anything to do with it at all.
Wow.
but
Okay.
um but yeah, I've growing up, I've had an interesting and strange life. Everything from talking to ghosts and they seemingly responding to me,
Yeah.
to UFO encounters in broad daylight on the farm with my sister, who's 7 years older than me. Weird shit has happened to me throughout the decades. And so when I went to Boston, not only was I away from the Ozarks, but I was also away from my immediate family. So it was how college is, it's self-discovery, right? So I came out of the closet as a gay man. I accepted my sexuality. I found a really high interest in metaphysics, and there's old stories about that too. And I ended up in a study group in Boston with three other individuals, another guy and two ladies. And we studied stuff together and practiced together. It was kind of a proto coven, is what I would call it.
Okay.
But one of them's teacher reached out to me spontaneously, and he was always so eccentric, I guess is the word, magical. He's an amazing man. And he said, when I answered the phone, and he goes, when the student is ready, the teacher shall come. And I'm like, who is this? I'm like, I have no idea. Well, that
Right.
ended up becoming my teacher in the craft, and he's Alexandrian. So I studied with him. Long story short, with a priestess's help, I was initiated to first degree, and then second, and then third. So now I'm a high priest of the Alexandrian tradition. I started my own coven here in Orlando after I graduated from college, and we started in 1993. We're just celebrating 30 years this year.
Wow, congratulations. That's incredible.
Coven's still going strong. But yeah, when I got into magic, it really had nothing to do with Salem. It was more about, well, I mean, to go into more detail, I my sister flew up to Boston to visit me once, and she was really into the New Age stuff and channeling, and I
Mm,
was really interested in metaphysics. And so, hand in hand, scared out of our minds, little Christian peoples from the Ozarks, we
right.
walked into our first metaphysical store, which actually was Arsenic and Old Lace in
Mm,
Cambridge, Massachusetts. For those in the know, remember that store. It was an amazing store. Lovely people, great energy. But back in the late 80s, this would have been 88.
mm.
This raven haired, lily white skinned lady, bounced up to me through the store and saw that I was looking at a big blue book with this giant pentacle on it, right? And she snatched it off the shelf, grabbed my hand, and pulled me to the floor. And I thought at the time, I'm like, we're sitting on the floor in the middle of a store. This is so wrong. Like, I would get beaten for this growing up, Get
Right.
off that floor. What are you doing? All those old knee-jerk reactions come back from your upbringing. But that person's name was Deborah. For those that remember back then, Deborah, I was so lucky she was the first person to talk to me about Wicca and about witchcraft. And I did end up buying that book, which we now affectionately call Uncle Bucky's Big Blue Book, The Complete Book of Witchcraft by Raymond Buckland. And
Mm,
that was my first Wiccan book in 1988. I took it home. I read the first chapter, and I broke out into tears because I'm like, I'm home. This is me. This is who I am. I always had a close connection with nature. Growing up on the farm, I had dogs and cats, but I also had pet chickens,
right.
you know. I mean,
Oh,
upside down, me rubbing their belly, falling asleep in my arms. I had a pet lamb I raised on a Pepsi bottle. Her name was Baba. Uh, all sorts of stuff. I had a special tree that I had to, run across the huge field to get to, and I had built a tree house up into the tree. I used to go to the creek all the time and look for crawdads under rocks, and I literally was a farm boy. Did the bucking of the bales of hay and all of it, like
amazing.
all of it.
That sounds like a great childhood, honestly.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely, absolutely. I cannot recommend, farm life for kids because you get to explore, you
right.
know.
Yeah.
And back then, you just went out as a kid, go outside and play. And
Yeah.
off we went. And we were all by ourselves. miles sometimes away in the forest or in, in the river with the copperheads and the water moccasins. That was just normal,
Right.
that was just normal back then.
You just don't come home until it's right before dark.
Get home by dinner time. That's it. My accent's coming out. But yeah, that's really, my upbringing. And then when I went to college, I was away, so I was able to explore and become myself. And then the spirituality hit me. The reason I was attracted to that book on the shelf with that big pinnacle on it is because from age 14 to 18, I was the church organist at the Baptist church, because by then my skills had become really well
Right.
honed. And so I would get into like a trancey thing. I'd be really into the music playing, and I'd look out over the congregation and I'd see stars in circles hovering over people. And I had no idea what was going on. It freaked me out, really. So when I went into the metaphysical store and I walk in, the first thing I do is look up, and there's a star with a circle around it. So I was just magnetically drawn to it. And that's why I approached that book specifically.
That's incredible.
Strange life.
So, did you ever figure out why you were seeing the stars in the
No, people have asked me that too. And I thought, different people have brought up different things to me, like maybe it had something to do with the people in the congregation. Like pentacles are a symbol of earth, of course, that contain all of the elements plus spirit, but they can also be used as a shield. So maybe it was like my own defenses going up to protect me from those people, because maybe they were judging me or something. Who knows? Who knows?
Wow, yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. But that did happen. And that's why I approached that book, in 1988. It was just meant to be. It was kind of like a sign, I guess, to draw me to where I needed to be. Of course, I was like, it's the devil's symbol, growing up in a Baptist church. That's what you're brainwashed with, right?
Yes.
Later, we find out it is not a devil's symbol.
Not
It
even
is a very, very spiritual symbol, right? So,
yeah. That's so funny. I forgot to mention when we were talking earlier, I'm from Nebraska.
Okay. Hey,
So
neighbor.
yes, so I understand farm life. I didn't grow up on a farm, but I grew up surrounded by farms.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it was also that same thing of like you could go out and play and you were safe and like be a kid and explore the world around you.
Yes.
And also raised Southern Baptist. So so much.
Bump it. Recovering Baptist.
Exactly. Yes. Like I get it. Like everything's evil. And it's just like, no.
Oh, I know. I was, as a child, I was like, why is this man so angry? And why is everybody listening to him?
Right.
I mean,
Why
as a 4-year-old, that was my impression. This man is pissed off.
Yeah.
And everybody's just sitting there like deers in the headlight listening to him, and I'm like, why are we even here listening to this guy just scream his head off?
I know. And then like, he would say words like hell and damnation. And I'm like,
Naughty words.
why is he yelling at us? And why is he getting to say these things? Like, yeah. It's very traumatizing in all actuality.
Like I said, recovering Baptist.
Very much.
I never really bought in all the way. I mean, I was slightly brainwashed, I guess you would say, indoctrinated, because that's the only thing
Right.
There is no other religions, there are no other people. It's just this way, and that's it.
Right.
Don't question.
Exactly.
Don't question it, right? So then you get out into the world and you're like, oh, there's other religions, there's other ways, there's other peoples, there's, who knew? because we
Right.
didn't, right?
Exactly.
So you broaden your mind, you broaden your horizons, and you educate yourself. And when you educate yourself, then you start to understand mentally, and then your heart opens and your mind opens to
Mm.
accept all paths. You know,
Yeah,
they all lead to the center. Some are more turbulent than others,
very much
but
so.
we all get there eventually.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you think, when do you think it was, it when you saw that book or read the first chapter in the book that you would say that you actually fell in love with magic? When would you say that was?
Magic specifically, or the craft? The Are we talking about the magical side or the worship religion side?
Both. Tell me about both.
Okay. So I didn't really understand after chapter 1 what it meant fully to be a witch or a high priest of the craft. I mean, you couldn't know. But I knew that in my heart, like I read it, I understood it, but then my heart exploded, right? Like this makes sense to me. This is something that's logical. This is something that I can connect with, right? That I've already started connecting with intuitively, growing up on the farm. Um, so then the more I read, the more it just continued to make sense, right? Um, there's bits and pieces you're like, you
Right.
raise one eyebrow about, but then
Right.
you understand later why and why those things are there and why they work. Um, but yeah, then when did I start believing in the magical side? I would have to say that as a little witchling, oh my goodness, this is way back. This is like 1980, like winter of 88, early spring of 89. um my elders took me to visit a group, uh, which I'm not going to mention because I don't know if they want to be mentioned or not, but they had an amazing temple in the basement of this old house.
Mm.
And we went down into the basement, and it's fully decorated, very Egyptian looking, and different,
Ooh.
I mean, just statues and stuff everywhere. It was amazing. And we did ritual, and there were a lot of people there. I would say there were at least 20 to 30 people there in the basement.
Mhm.
And we got to the point where we were charging the circle by raising a cone of power.
Mhm.
Not only did I feel it, right, in your body,
Mhm.
but when the cone started peaking, I guess it was touching the floor above. Okay.
Oh,
And there's nobody else in the house. Everybody is in the basement. There's nobody upstairs. I kid you not. Like, it was like somebody was right above our head with a sledgehammer hitting the floor above us.
wow.
And I was like, what's happening? And everybody that was there before, that's normal, you know. But what it was the wood above our heads, which was the floor,
Right.
was boom, and it would pop. It was groaning and creaking, and it was explained to me later when I asked about it, because I was like, what,
Right.
what, no way.
Real.
Uh, that wood, even though dead, it was once a living thing, so it was responding to that life force energy, and it was stretching and moving with the magic, the cone of power that
Yeah.
was being raised to touch that ceiling. So we talked a little bit before the live stream here, and we kind of geeked out about prioritization and tasks, and Whitney here has convinced me to make a YouTube video about it, so stay tuned for that on my channel.
So
Lord Alexian is my YouTube channel. But I am very geeky. I'm very scientific as well. And I'm not just like all like, you know,
Right.
spiritual. I'm also very logical about things. And I truly believe that our religion is just tapping into natural forces that the universe already has out there. And I
Mhm.
read a lot about quantum physics.
Right.
Quantum physics and metaphysics are literally saying the same things. I mean, like, it's just different words and different ways of thinking about it. The way the energies flow and the way the particles react to each other. And if you want to have your mind blown, it's all over. This is a very old experiment. It's called the double slit experiment.
Ooh,
Look it
okay.
up on YouTube. There's tons of videos about it. There's one that really explains it in layman's terms, and it's a cartoon called, I think it's like Dr. Quantum or something like that. It's like an old guy with gray hair and like a Superman like outfit, but it's like blue. Anyway, the double slit experiment, which is really old and has been replicated many times, basically proves mind over matter. It
Oh,
does.
okay.
Because these particles start to behave differently whether they're being observed or not.
Wow. Okay. Very
So
cool.
literally just looking at something changed its behavior.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm gonna check this out now.
And why? Because the physicist expects it to act like this. But when it's measured, it acts like that. And over, it acts like that. But the moment you actually zoom in and look at it really closely to see which way it's really going, it starts to behave like you expect it to.
Ooh.
Mind over matter, right?
Right.
So
Right.
look it up, slit experiment. I really believe that it's got a scientific explanation.
I've always felt that as well, that, people say there's no real magic, there's no supernatural. And I fully, wholeheartedly believe that there is.
Oh yeah.
It is scientific. It's just we don't always understand it. And I think there's so much we haven't even discovered yet, um, scientifically, but we will, to explain how and why magic works. And
Mhm.
it is. And there is the supernatural stuff too, like,
Yeah.
that we can't.
Energy, what is it? Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change form.
Right, right. Yeah.
So
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're chanting that sound energy, the things that come out of your mouth, even talking, okay,
Mhm.
where does that energy go? Can't be destroyed. Where's it going?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's being transformed into something else. So, as we know, the way magic works is if you put intent behind those words, then they're more powerful, right?
Right.
Then they have purpose and they manifest in the purpose of the intent, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And that's why I always tell people you have to watch your words and watch what you say, especially when you are a witch and you are a person who, is in the craft, because your words hold power. That's
Oh
what all
yeah.
the study and the training is about, is learning how to use your power. So whether you think you're doing something mundane or not, like, oh, this is my witch life and this is my mundane life. No, no, no. They are the same, just like you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. Ugh,
One life. So, the more you study and the more you understand and the higher you go in your training, what I've noticed over my lifetime since 1988 is things manifest faster. They don't manifest differently. They're still going to show up naturally, as if
Right.
a coincidence happened, right?
Right.
But if you want to do that experiment, keep your magical journals and write down everything you do magically, date it, write down the moon phases, write down all the influences that went into that ritual or that spell. It might be years later, you flip back through your meditational journal or your magical journal, and you'll go, oh, this manifested. So you write down your results. It's like a scientific method, right?
Yes.
Do an experiment, get the results, right? You'll see that over time, things start manifesting faster. Yeah. So it's got to the point now, I really, when I want something, it just shows up. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and that's why I always tell people it's so important to keep that journal. It doesn't have anything to do with if you hate writing, if you love writing. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's all about having that proof for yourself and building your confidence.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And journals can also be
Yes.
digital. Okay.
Yeah.
I am an old school witch. I have one foot in that traditional, you got to write it in a book, right? And there are some things that we still do by the book, pun intended. But I also have one foot in 2023 where everything is digital, right? So the best place to be is in the middle. Do some things that are more conveniently done digital, but do the old school work on paper.
Right.
Dream diaries and magical journals are very, very cool. And if you're not keeping one yet, people that are listening, you should start one immediately. Your dream, you should have a meditational journal, a magical journal, and a dream diary. And you got to keep your dream diary next to your bed, opened up to a blank page, with not one, but two or three writing utensils, because of course it's going to break on the first attempt. So you need to, and you got to roll over and start writing immediately, because if you don't, that dream whoosh, is gone. You'll forget it within 5 minutes, right? And that's just the way our minds work between our subconscious and our conscious life. You want to write that dream down when you're in that hypnagogic state between sleep and waking consciousness, because then you're going to remember more details. But if you put all of these things into, say, a Google Doc, that's free. No, thank you, Google. Woke up. She's always listening. We have all of the devices. What I was saying is, if you put your, like, for example, your dream diary in a Google Doc, just one file, guess what? It's searchable now.
Oh.
Yeah. So when you go back to look, you don't have to do this and look for like 30 minutes to an hour to find that exact page. You just go enter.
I've never thought about it that way, but you're right. That makes it so much easier. Huh.
The power of search
Right.
is very magical indeed.
Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, that's like if you could take all of the books, because I love books. I have like a whole bookshelf back here that's like loaded up in double layers because I'm a book freak. Um, but if I could take all of those and put them where they are searchable, that would save so much time.
Yes.
So much
Yes, ma'am.
time. Yeah. Wow. I never even thought about it doing it for that purpose. But yeah, that's a great idea and example of why it's important. Wow. Okay, so when did you I want to know so much. So when did you start to blend the magic and the music?
Ah, so these are great questions. Good on you. So basically, I was going to be a rock and roll star. Okay.
Ah,
I went to Berklee College of Music. I was hanging with, I know I'm old. Don't laugh at me. Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, and Whitney Houston. I was very pop oriented amongst a bunch of rockers and jazz people, you know.
Okay.
You know how you have like those college rivalries and stuff like that in sports. At Berklee College of Music, back in the 80s at least, it was between the rockers and the jazzers, right? And I was in the middle. I was pop. But anywho, I mean, I was gonna do that. That's what I was trained to do my whole life, is to become a musician, right? And I am a musician. It just didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to be, because the goddess had other plans for me. So I moved to Florida. I'm in the Orlando area, Central Florida. And she started talking to me. And I started jotting down some ideas for songs and stuff. But it was then that I got my hands on Gypsy Ravishes CD, which was hot off the presses back then, called Enchantress.
Ooh.
And it was one of the first Pagan albums that I had heard that was not in the key of D minor. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return, like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. Isis, Astarte, Diana, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, and Anna, ancient mother. They're all the same key. They're all sad. They're all, sad keys. And I love those chants. Don't get me wrong. I actually teach those chants in my community, which we'll talk about in a minute. But basically, she blew my mind because it was pop. It was rock. It was pop rock, And I'm like, oh, pagan music can be other genres? Wait a minute. So then my brain really started going, and songs started to come to me. I remember Listen to the Wind, which people love, was one of the first songs that I wrote, and I didn't write it. If you get my drift. I went outside with a pad and a pencil. I sat under a tree here in Florida, and the wind came up and started blowing through the branches above my head, and the words just came out of my pencil. I've never edited one word of that song. I got the words, I got the melody, everything, just by sitting under that tree that day. And I always say I never wrote it because it came through me, and that's why it's so long, because I never edited it. It's like 7 minutes or something, which is long for a single. Then one day I had some friends over who were also pagan, and we're all joking around and we're eating and drinking. And somebody said, "It's so cool to be a witch." And I went, song idea. And I went immediately to the piano. And I don't know why, but out of my fingertips came the boogie woogie. So I'm playing a boogie woogie, and then I start singing these lyrics that are just coming to me spontaneously about it's cool to be a witch. But then I grabbed a pencil and paper and started writing it down, and everybody's like, "What is happening? This is so cool. What is happening?" And they watched me that evening write "It's Cool to Be a Witch," but it was kind of out of laughter and fun, and that energy manifested into the song because the song is silly and fun, and people love that one too. So that's when I started. Way back in it would have been 90, late 90, early 91. And then I actually released that complete album in 92.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
That
So,
album is The Mother, the Magic, the Music, which is my original album.
okay. All right. How many albums do you have now?
Not very many. I have the original one. I did produce Amulet, which is a pagan choir that I started here in the 90s after I moved to Florida. And we recorded a whole album called Amulet. But then I did a few singles here and there, and that's it. And the reason is I have been working my butt off for, to pay for everything. But I am now old and my bills are paid off. I am debt free.
Yay!
So because I am debt free, I'm throwing my schedule, slowly leaning it away into from work to creativity. So I've upped the creativity hours, and I've got, people don't realize I have hundreds, literally hundreds of songs in the bank waiting to be recorded. It's just this time. Right. And so I teach music lessons online. If anybody's interested, I do voice, piano, songwriting, lyric writing, music theory, ear training. I teach that, in my mundane life, but I am getting ready to produce pre-recorded courses, not only on that website, but on alexianmusic.com's website, with a pagan twist. So think pagan piano lessons, pagan vocal lessons, pagan songwriting lessons, etc. That's coming. That's also part of my creative outlet, is take what I know and make it fun and creative, and put all these things in there, and quizzes, and it's going to be so much fun.
Well, that sounds amazing. That sounds incredible.
Yeah. I kind of tested the system out because it's a new system to me, and I released, and it's not going to be free forever, hint, hint. But I have a course, a free course. It's a mini course, but it's a free course. It's actually a meditation that I wrote at the beginning of my coven life here. And it is one of the first classes that we teach. It's like class 3 or 4. That we teach within our coven Twisted Oak, which is to find your magical name. Okay. Some people come to the coven thinking they know their magical name, and then they take the class and they're like, oh, that's actually not my magical name. And they find their true magical name. So this meditation, which is the highlight of the course, takes you on a spiritual journey to find that name. And then in the course, it also follows up and uses numerology to figure out the exact perfect spelling for that name.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. It works every time.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
So that's for free right now on my website at alexianmusic.com. Just click on store and it's right there and it says free.
Awesome. That's incredible. I love that. And I'll put the links to that with, well, all your links I'll put with this, but
thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for putting that out there. I don't have a magical name. I've never even thought really much about trying to find a magical name. So I'm intrigued. So I think that's incredible.
I explain everything about it, like why you want one, the history behind it, how to get it. There's different ways to get it. So yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. So tell me about your online community. Share a little bit more about that.
So as a pagan musician, it's the thing to have a Patreon, right? Mm-hmm. And I tried out Patreon, but I wasn't really convinced. It was too restrictive. And I wanted to have more interaction and more colorful things, and I wanted it to do more, right? So fortunately, the new platform that I found that I use not only allows me to do courses, pre-recorded courses, but it also has a community function built into it as well, which was released as a new feature like the month I joined this new platform. So I was very lucky to get in right from the beginning. but it's called Coven of Cool Cats. I
Oh,
have a Facebook group with thousands of people in it. And in there, I did a poll and I said, what do we want to call ourselves? What would you call yourselves? My fans and followers. And somebody put in Coven of Cool, and people voted that one up. And I think it's because of my song Cool to Be a Witch, right? So that's
yeah,
where the cool comes from. But of
yes,
course, I am a devotee and high priest of Bast. Bast is my matron goddess. The Egyptian cat goddess is my matron goddess. And so I had to add cats on the end. So it's Coven of Cool Cats. So
I love
everything's got kitty cats all over it, if you like cats. But that's just the name and graphics. But within the community, there's a lot of live video chat interaction like we're doing right now. And you can do it on your phone, you can do it on a tablet, you can do it on your computer. Every single day, even at the lowest tier, because it's in tiers, different plans include different things that you get from me. But on the lowest tier, which is only $4 a month, that's it, $4 a month,
incredible.
you get to walk with me every day on your phone, live video chatting. So we talk about all these, we just talk, like people ask me questions, I answer them, we bullshit, we have fun. We walk for a half an hour every single morning together on video chat. So that alone was my hack to get my butt up and start getting more healthy, right? And it's working. I've dropped a lot of weight since February when I started the community. So, but everybody else is enjoying it too. And it feels like it's 5 minutes. It goes by like that. 30
Right.
minutes goes by like that because you're talking. So it's just so cool how fast it's done,
That's
And at the end of that, I also do the card of the day. I'll draw a card and I'll tell everybody what the card means and how you can incorporate it into your life that day, personally or romantically or business wise. And that is one of many, many things that I offer through my community. Other things are like every Tuesday night, and this is also on the $4 plan included. We meet on live video chat and I do a drumming and chanting workshop on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern. So some of those chants I was just singing, I teach people. Like we slow it down, I say the words, people write the words down, then I teach them the song, and then we have everybody mute their mic so it's not cross talking. And I just sing, and you can see everybody singing and drumming along with me. It works perfectly. So we do that every Tuesday night. There's meditations in some of the higher plans, ASMR meditations. There's magical techniques I teach. It just goes on and on and on. It's all listed on my website under the store, so you can see the different kitty cats. It's all rainbow colored. There's 7 plans, and it's the 7 colors of the rainbow, and they're all kitty cats. So
That's awesome. I love that. And that was such a great idea to be able to get the motivation to get moving,
mhm.
um, and do it in a fun and magical and interactive way. That's great. That's so great. Um, do you find that there are many people that walk with you? Like there.
That is sporadic. I will admit the walking is sporadic because some people have to work early in the morning when I'm walking. But I have 3 people that show up more than others. It's new. I mean, I just started the community this year, so it's very small and we're growing it, right? I'm getting ready to start doing some advertising. I haven't really done anything to push it yet.
Right.
So I'm just talking about it as I go through my day, but I need to start pushing it more and get the word out. So thank you for asking me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what's your most recent project?
Okay, so I just released a brand new song, a single called Merry Meet. If you haven't heard the live streams I've been doing, they're on my YouTube, they're on Facebook. Just go watch it on YouTube. It's the easiest one to find. YouTube.com/Lord Alexian. And so when I was inspired on this song, let me get a sip of water.
Sure. Could use some too.
So again, I get a lot of inspiration and creativity that comes through in my dreams. And like, I will write whole songs in my dreams all the time. And again, I use my phone. It's by my bedside. And so, there'll be like 3 a.m. and I'll roll over and hit record and I'll sing something into the phone or say words or whatever. And then, 25% of those the next day I get up and then it's like, I'm like, what the fuck did I just say? I have no idea, but try to pronunciate when I'm doing this in the middle of the night. But then I take the digital recordings and then I use those to then, when I'm sitting at my computer, to type it up and start, if there's a melody, I'll actually write it out in music notes. And then I take those motifs and I develop them into full-fledged songs. But when it came to Merry Meet, what I saw in my dream was a great group of people. I mean, it was thousands of people. And they were all congregating towards this center of a forest. And there was a bonfire in the middle of the forest. So it was circle, people were coming together to have ritual. And they were all singing, though. There was drumming and people were singing and dancing. And they were all excited to get together and they were hugging each other and greeting each other. And there in the center of the circle was the high priestess standing, already embodying the energy of the goddess. But when these people were singing, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it because I remember in my mind what it looked like. They were singing in Latin.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't know. I have no idea where that came from.
Wow.
So the biggest feeling that I got from the scene in my mind was Merry Meet, right? Because they're meeting each other and they're getting ready for ritual. Yeah. So I wrote the chorus of the song Merry Meet to be in English. And then I created a chant that repeats, that is in Latin. And the words are Odie o Corsuma, Odie Corsuma, which means roughly meet today. I see you today. I meet with you today. And then Felix Acorsuma, which means happy meet. For people that are older like me, I watched reruns. I'm not that old. I watched reruns of Felix the cat, the wonderful, wonderful cat, right? Felix means the happy cat, right? So Felix is Latin for happy. So happy meet, merry meet, right? And then in amore et fide, with love and trust. In perfect love and perfect trust, right? In amore et fide, in amore et fide. And that's it. It's Oreo Corsuma, Felix Corsuma, and in amore et fide. That's the Latin words. There are no more, but they're repeated. Right. So because I saw this group of people, these thousands of people singing, it was like a choir when I was hearing it in the dream. Right. So I arranged it for a choir. So now in comes Spectral. Spectral is my volunteer group of people who actually volunteer their voices to sing background vocals on my recordings. And then we also have dancers who will video record themselves and dance in my music videos, right? So everybody just submits their files and then I mix them together, whether it be audio or video, right? So this project started over 4 years ago. That's when I had the dream. It took forever because group of pagans herding cats.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So it took forever for everybody to submit their bits and pieces, right? Because again, they're like, what is this? This is, I didn't sign up for Latin. I think the Latin alone kind of freaked people out, So there were like 50% of them just didn't even participate, that were in Spectral. But the people that did participate did and eventually send me their recordings, and a lot of them just use their phone, and that works perfectly because the recording on phones and the cameras, as you know, on phones are really high quality these days.
Yeah.
So it play back the parts, which I sent them on one device with earphones, and then they use a second device to record themselves singing along with what they're listening to and from another device, right? And so the recordings then they just sent in. So it's really easy to do. And then I took those recordings, threw them into my professional audio studio and mixed it all together. And that's the choir, that angelic choir that you're hearing in the snippets of Merry Meet that I put out. That's them. That's Spectral.
That is so cool. I never would have even thought to come up with like an idea like that of Spectral to have individuals record themselves and bring it together to make the choir in that way. That is so cool. Was that
And they
a
had no idea what the song was going to sound like,
right?
because it was like, record this bit, Odia Corsima, right? Now record this bit as a separate file, Felix Corsima. Now record this bit, the English, and now record this bit, in Amore et Fide, So it was all separate. It was out of order. They had no idea. They didn't know what the music sounded like. They didn't know it was going to even have drumming. They had no idea, So now that they're hearing it, they're like, it's
Right.
this whole thing that has blossomed into this amazing piece that it came out much better than I ever hoped it would. And I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. I have to say their names from Spectral: Belladonna, Rebecca, Mama Gina, Anna Marie Winfrey, Leonora, Sharia Reimagined, and Tom McFarland. That's it. Those are the people that submitted their vocals. That's who you're listening to. Oh, and myself. Of course, I added my vocals too. So I only had one guy. Please, if you're a male and pagan and you sing and you have 5 minutes in your schedule, please join my Spectral group. I need more men. I need more men. I need more men that will follow through, because I had some other men that didn't follow through. So I need men that will follow through. And you might end up on my next recording.
That's cool. So how can people join Spectral if they're interested?
Oh, it's really easy. You just go to alexianmusic.com/spectral. And there's also a tab at the top you can click on to get to that Spectral page. And there's a little form that you fill out and submit. And that's it. And then I'll be in touch. I'm a geek. I have everything programmed.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. Where did you come up with the idea for that? Was that channeled or, like a drop
The
in or?
idea of Spectral?
Mhm.
That was not a channeled thing. That was a necessity thing. I'm like, I need background vocalists, and I'm surely there's some people in the community that would like to sing.
Right.
I mean, that's all I thought. So let me just put the word out, see what happens. And little by little, they started signing up.
That's neat. That's so neat. Wow.
Yeah. I have, this just popped into my head. Not a lot of people know this. So you're kind of the first to find out.
Yay.
I'm starting a YouTube show.
Ooh.
Called the Alexian Show, and it's going to start next year. I've already written the jingle for it. It has an introductory jingle and everything. And my show, you can tell I'm a goofy guy. I'm goofy. I'm fun. I'm uplifting. It's just who I am. I just go with it.
Right.
But my show is not going to be all like, and what do you think about this? And No, it's going to be silly. It's going to be fun. It's going to be completely different than anything I've seen so far on YouTube. So the Alexian Show coming to your YouTube soon next year. Stay tuned.
Awesome. So
And then
what are you going to
also, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are you going to be talking about magical things or all different things?
It's going to be a segment show. So instead of just having one guest on at a time, I'm going to have multiple guests on one
Ooh,
episode. Yeah. So
fun.
every guest will be a different topic. Yeah.
Oh,
So you'll have to wait and see. But I got some cool things that have never been done, planned. So
that's exciting.
just think Alexian the Witch and Graham Norton. Smash them together.
All right. Oh,
The
sweet.
other thing that I am also starting is a pagan music concert series. So I've already started talking to the other pagan musicians, and my platform that I'm using allows me to have concerts. So I tested it out this year already. I did my own concert, and it worked perfectly. Not only did it sell the tickets for me, it emails people, and it's all, I pre-program everything. So then the day comes and the concerts come, and we live stream inside the website, like it's only inside the website. Yeah, so it's under lock and barrel, right?
Yeah.
So you have to pay a ticket to get in, right? So online concerts coming next year on alexianmusic.com. My goal is to have as many different pagan musicians come through and then come back again and again. And I should also mention along those lines, I am taking sponsorships for the different concerts. So if a pagan musician comes up that you love and you want to be connected with, you can buy a sponsorship to help produce this concert. And your logo and your advertisements are put before the concert, during the concert, and after the concert. So we promote your business or service before, during, and after the concert as a sponsor. So check into that as well if you have a business.
That's so cool. I love that idea of doing the concerts on there. Like that's incredible. That's a fabulous idea. And it's going to give so many people the opportunity to see their favorite pagan musicians in that setting, like in a concert setting.
That's my hope. I mean, let's face it, not every pagan musician can travel the world all
Right.
the time so you can see them in person. This way, you can literally see them in person live. It's not pre-recorded. It's live. You can chat with all the other people while they're watching the show. You can chat and have fun with the crowd.
Oh,
And there's even I have it set up where people can. There's a pre-show meetup. So if you buy the concert ticket, and then there's an upsell where you can buy to have the backstage pass, basically,
oh,
and you get to meet with the artist and talk with them in a private Zoom with all the other people that bought that ticket. So you
right.
can ask them questions and talk to them like I'm talking to you right now. And then, limited to only 2 per show, there's a bigger upsell where you get to be on stage with the musician as they're performing. So they'll perform your favorite song, for example, to you live.
That is so cool. That is incredible. You have just blown my mind, and you have so much going on. And we're out of time, and it makes me so sad because I want to talk to you so much more. So
Well,
hopefully
you
we
have
can,
to have me back.
yes, have you back soon. But thank you so much. I am going to put links to everything
Oh,
up.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will love to start promoting some of your stuff on my site as well. So Gosh, Alexian, thank you so much for being here. I have enjoyed every minute of this, and I already can't wait to have you back. So we'll have
I
to do that.
appreciate you, Whitney. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Till next time, you guys. Stay magical.